Hey, listening to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MP. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype, we got Josh.
Hey!
NXT Deadline this weekend coming up. As of time of recording, we got 6 matches to talk about. Couple of Iron Survivor challenges, couple of NXT titles on the line, steel cage match, and a singles match that'll open up the show.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll open the floor. Where do you want to start with on this card?
Let's start with the steel cage match.
Alrighty. Roxanne Perez, Kiana James, steel cage.
Yep. Again, there's a lot of questions about what they're doing with Perez. It's almost like they're in a holding pattern with her since she lost the NXT Women's Championship all those moons ago.
Yeah.
And she's always near the top, but never seems to be going back towards the championship. It could be that they're just waiting for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I guess... I don't know if she's marked for a call-up. Sometimes that's a little bit harder to tell, but I think you're right. We have been doing a whole lot of nothing. We've had feuds here and there, and they've been high-profile feuds. But it just doesn't feel like we're doing much. And usually it's got Roxanne on the losing end of it as well. Which does just seem like we're trying to get through some time period.
Yeah. So that's why I think this could be another loss for her. Kiana's on the way up as a solo act, since instead of being a tag team like she was before. And I think this could just be the farewell match for Roxanne, so to speak. And then she disappears until she debuts in the Rumble.
Yeah, you always got to assume,
we'll figure it out from there.
In this December-January period, right, that there will be some call-ups when it comes to the Royal Rumble. It is possible to not. But there will be at very least some sort of featured artists, I guess. And so we'll have to see what sort of role Roxanne ends up playing in that. But yeah, it seems to be tipping that way, and I think you're right. Kiana James likely to come out on top. Roxanne Perez continues her losing ways. You know what? Why don't we get this North American Championship out of the way as well? Because we have had a change-up. Dominic Mysterio will be still defending his title, but it will not be against Wesley. Unfortunately, dropped out with injury this week. It'll instead be against Dragon Lee, intertwining it more with that LWO angle up on the main roster.
Yeah, because Ray's supposed to be in his corner. I do find it very interesting that now with the sudden switch to Dragon Lee, somebody who was supposed to be in the tournament for the U.S. title, and probably was one of the favorites, is now facing off for the developmental championship again. Honestly, I don't know. I definitely thought Wesley was winning the title here. So, definitely, I could see Dragon Lee walking out with it, but that definitely means he's not winning that tournament.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? Because, as you said, Wesley, I would have expected to take the title, which does mean if it is time in the Judgment Day storyline for Dominic to be losing the championship, and that's how that story is going to continue, then Dominic still has to lose that championship. And typically I would say, Dragon Lee is so involved in the LWO storyline, and so involved up on the main roster that surely they wouldn't put the NXT North American Championship on him. But Dominic Mysterio has been holding it for the last however long he's had it. And I don't know if I want to continue having that NXT North American Championship just being on the main roster, It might be time to hand it back down to an NXT person.
Yeah, which would have been Wesley. but then injuries screw all that up.
And I think another hiccup with this as well is what you said with Rey Mysterio being in Dragon Lee's corner. I still don't know what sort of combination of match we're going to end up with at WrestleMania. But, it's another putting Dom opposite Rey. It does elevate the match, I think, a little bit. But just another wrinkle of I don't know what they're going to do with this one. I'm very coin flippy on this one.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Dragon Lee winning. Dominic's had a solid 6 months, minus three days as champion. So I have no qualms with it, because I do think Dragon Lee is still being introduced to the crowd on the main roster. He could vanish and people wouldn't miss him really, at least on the main roster fans, for the most part. So yeah, I think he wins it. Maybe he doesn't hold it for long. Maybe he holds it for a couple months, and then it finally does gravitate back to an NXT guy. Maybe the next big thing that's coming through. Yeah.
Well, we'll have to see. I think this one's probably one of the trickier matches to call out, just because, it was changed, time of recording, about 10 minutes ago. And it does involve two main roster guys who are in pretty high-profile feuds. The Judgment Day doing what they're doing, the LWO continuing their explosion. I'm sure we'll talk about both of those when we talk about the main roster if we've got time. But yeah, there's a lot of implication around that match. You know what? Let's go for the NXT Women's Iron Survivor Challenge, because the other three are kind of all tied together. So the Iron Survivor Challenge for the number one contendership to the NXT Women's Championship. It'll be Tiffany Stratton versus Lash Legend versus Blair Davenport versus Kaylani Jordan versus Fallon Henley.
This should be an interesting match. These Iron Survivor Challenge matches are chaotic, to say the least. But it's always very interesting in seeing how they build feuds out of it. In this sense, it's very much like a Survivor Series match, which I think is what they're intending for anyway. I think the person I think will win is not the person I would like to see win.
That's quite often the case.
Yeah, because I think the person that should win is Blair Davenport.
Oh, that's who I think is going to win. Who are you picking?
Lash Legend.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I just think that... I think they want to keep Lyra away from Blair, keep her away from Tiffany for a little while. And Lash Legend she's improving, but she's definitely not on the level of a Lyra Valkyria. And you definitely give a month or two of a feud to maybe further elevate Lash, but not have a threat to the championship.
Yeah, I think you're right. Blair Davenport versus Lyra Valkyria is to me the money match. I think two amazing talents, both coming from the UK. That's the feud that's sitting there. Have a nice little video package, whatever about it. Do we want to do it so early in Valkyria's reign? Because I got a feeling when that match does happen, Blair would be taking the championship off of Lyra. I guess not. In which case, somebody like a Lash Legend is a half-decent stalling feud. To maybe put Blair versus Lyra more towards the April NXT special, or the late March. And I guess that makes more sort of sense if that's what we're building towards. But yeah, it would just be a stalling tactic. I don't see anybody out of here except Blair Davenport and maybe an off chance on Tiffany Stratton actually taking the championship away from Lyra off of who's in the field.
Yeah, if Lyra had held the title for longer than she has.
Mm-hmm.
I would give Blair and Tiffany more of a chance. In fact, I would pick one of them to win this match. But because it's so early in her reign, I don't want to see those two face off right now. Because if they do, it's going to be another 6 months before they face off again. And by that point, they may be off on the main roster.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think what you just laid out is, I think, the plan. I think it is going to be Blair versus Lyra at the Stand Up and Deliver in April.
It's just how do we get there?
Yeah.
What's the time? Okay, we've got a little bit of time to talk about some of the interweaving pieces. Let's talk about the NXT Championship first. Singles match. Ilja Dragunov defending his title against Baron Corbin. The winner of this match obviously having to defend against the winner of the Iron Survivor Challenge.
Yeah. This is going to be an absolute brawl. I'm interested in this match. Very interested, because I think they may not be big, meaty men, but they're going to be slapping meat like big, meaty men.
We need another phrase for that. Yeah, Ilja obviously does strong style really well. And Baron Corbin's a great talent, as much as the internet loves to poop on him. Do I think he'll pick up the NXT Championship? Probably not. I won't count him out, but probably not.
No, I don't think he'll win the championship here either. But maybe this is the vehicle that actually pushes the reset button on Baron Corbin, and actually allows him to develop a character that maybe can actually get over with the crowd in a way that he hasn't really since the end of the Broke Corbin arc. Or at least, honestly, I've looked back at it and stuff. Honestly, I think he should have been in Judgment Day.
All right.
Baron Corbin. Do you remember Breaking Ground?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you remember how occult he was and how personable he was compared to the lone wolf character he was playing?
Yeah, I think letting his personality shine really would have worked well. Yeah. And I guess still can.
So maybe they can repackage him. Maybe they'll send him away for a while, and then he comes back on the main roster as an occult guy, type character. Something that he can really sink his teeth into.
Mm-hmm.
Like the stuff that he really is interested in real life. And honestly, he played a really bad dude, but he was a really good guy on Breaking Ground. He's a really cool dude. So I will always like Baron Corbin. So, but I like Dragunov better in this match.
I like him, but I don't like him that much.
I don't like him to win.
Fair enough. Well then, Ilja Dragunov, who will he be taking on? Well, we'll be discussing that on the other side of the entrance theme of the week this week. It is none other than main event Jey Uso, and that song is playing for you right about now. And you're back at Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. Alrighty, let's talk about the feud that's going to run throughout the night. Give a quick recap of what happened minutes ago live on NXT. Did Carmelo attack Trick? Did Lexis King? Did Carmelo hire Lexis King? These are all of our questions floating into the pay-per-view. Opening match, Carmelo Hayes versus Lexis King. Closing match, the Iron Survivor Challenge featuring Trick Williams.
Yeah. I love the interweaving and everything in this story. We all know what the answer is. It's the most obvious answer ever. But they're still telling such an amazing story. Even though you know what the destination is. You know what it actually is. they're putting enough doubt in your mind that it actually could be not be him. With the stuff they're doing with Lexis King, while also elevating Lexis King, who has just debuted, getting him over with the crowd. I expect Lexis to win. This is only like his third or fourth match. I don't expect him to lose it, which is sad because Carmelo really can't afford it. But unfortunately, as much as he can't afford it, Lexis King can't afford it even less.
Yeah, I think in terms of setting up the later on in the show, Lexis winning works way better in terms of heading into that Iron Survivor Challenge. Obviously, there's 100 different ways they can go with Carmelo or Lexis's involvement in it, but I'm sure we'll see some sort of tricky stuff at the end of the match.
Yeah. It definitely feeds into it. I think it'll be the trigger that finally shows Carmelo Hayes' true colors. It's been the little things when you've watched Carmelo that shows how, dare I say, jealous he is of Trick. Which is weird because Carmelo had those big long rings, but it's like he sees Trick getting over on his own, and he hates it.
Yeah, it's definitely an ego thing more than it's like an accomplishment-driven thing.
Yeah. So Trick, I think if it wasn't for this overarching storyline, I think Trick could definitely win this match. But because of the overall storyline, he immediately struck out. Because at some point, I think Carmelo Hayes comes out and lays him out and costs him the match. I think with the Iron Survivor match, when I look at who's in the match, to me, there's two possible answers. And both of them are non-American. So I'll immediately throw you out. So I'll immediately throw out Josh Briggs and Braun Breaker. I think it could either be Dijak, the setup Dijak versus Ilja again, or Tyler Bate versus Ilja, who just qualified, by the way.
Yeah, I was too busy clicking on Dijak's Wikipedia page. Born and raised in Massachusetts, but is of Croatian, Italian, and Hungarian ancestry. Interesting combination.
For some reason, I thought he was Australian.
No, but Dijak and Bate, I think, are my two favorites for it as well. And especially, this is like hinging on Ilja retaining. If Baron retains, any questions on the table. But yeah, I think Dijak Ilja again makes sense, and I think Bate Ilja would be a great match seen multiple times in Progress. I'm sure we've seen it other than that as well. But yeah, I think those are your two big matches. Josh Briggs, I'm sorry, won't bring much to the table in the way, as you say. Trick Williams taking off the shots, and then Braun Breaker, Ilja, maybe if I had to put a third choice down.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Dijak or Bate, number 1 and 2 next to each other.
Yeah, I think Briggs and Breaker, I think, will split off on their own feud. Mm-hmm. Very similar to how last year it was Axiom and JD McDonough that split off on a feud out of this match.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see chaos. I would love to see Josh Briggs win because I don't think anybody would expect it.
You are correct. I would not expect it.
And I think Ilja could carry Briggs to a phenomenal match. Because Ilja's just that good. But yeah, I think it'll be people that you would expect. It's Dijak or Tyler Bate. And I'm going to go with Dijak simply because I think that's where they want to go. But the person I want to see win, if I can't get Josh Briggs, is Tyler Bate. Because I think that will just be the best match.
Yeah, if everything goes, if Bate, Davenport, and Dragunov all win, then I'll point out that our two main NXT championships could be Ilja Dragunov versus Tyler Bate in an NXT UK clash, as well as Blair Davenport versus Lyra Valkyria in an NXT UK clash, which I maybe longer term. I don't see it happening at the same show, but seeing a lot of good prospects and good stuff out of the NXT UK crew that came on over.
Yeah, I would like that. I think Bate does deserve another shot at the NXT Championship. Since his only shot was the unification match.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens on NXT. We got about 4-5 minutes to talk about the main roster. Catch us up heading into the Rumble, which is a little bit while away. But we did talk about the LWO storyline, so let's continue that one a little bit. We were asking where Santos's former henchmen were going to lie. Well, I think Santos Escobar just purely put them on the other side of the line as he beat the HE double hockey sticks out of Joaquin Wilde. And if it wasn't for Rey Mysterio, for Dragon Lee, I think it might have been a lot worse for Wilde. Possibly.
Or it could be just a reminder of where you actually should stand. I mean, it is what it is. Obviously, Escobar is the direction we're going. I hate that the first round match is Lee versus Escobar in that tournament, but it's only a 4-person tournament. So it's kind of, if it's not there, it would be the finals, and I don't see either of them actually winning the tournament, which is the sad thing, because of this storyline.
Yeah, obviously, wrapping its way into that, Logan Paul returns to SmackDown, announces we're going to have a little tournament for the US Championship number 1 contendership. As you said, Santos, Dragon Lee in there. We've also got Bobby Lashley, Karrion Kross, Austin Theory, Grayson Waller, Kevin Owens, and someone from NXT. Pretty much any big player you've got on SmackDown.
We don't have Kevin Owens.
Oh, we had.
Yeah. Unfortunately, much like Wes Lee, injuries have messed up with this tournament. I don't know who they'll replace him with, but Kevin Owens was going to be my pick to win the tournament.
Yeah, especially after he defeats Grayson Waller and punches Austin Theory in the face. I don't know if that's where the hand injury ends up happening. But yeah, everything was sort of lined up. Kevin Owens gets traded over to SmackDown. Looks like he's going to get a bit of a burst. He'll do well on the mic versus Paul. It all looked like it was going to be good. And now we're going to have to pivot.
Yeah. So I'd just stick him on commentary until he can heal.
He does do good on that role. Then I guess, who's your new early pick then? If we're taking Santos, Dragon Lee, and Kevin Owens out, and we're looking then, I guess, at Bobby Lashley, Karrion Kross, Austin Theory, Grayson Waller, and some unnamed NXT star.
I'll go with whoever replaces Kevin Owens in the tournament.
That's entirely fair, because I think a lot of those names there don't stand a shot. I think there's a lot of heels in there where the alignments don't quite work out. Because Logan Paul won't be cheered against any of them. As much as, Austin Theory, Grayson Waller would be fun to have opposite him, I don't see it quite happening. And then I guess in our last minute, we might as well talk about Randy Orton. He has planted his flag on the blue brand and decided to celebrate with an RKO on General Manager Nick Aldis.
This was a fun segment. It just harked back to older contract signings. A lot of people pointed out, like, the Batista one. To me, it reminded me of the Austin one. The one where Austin signed when he came back with Raw and SmackDown, and he ended up staying with Raw. I don't know. It's just, I'm fine with it because I think we all expected, at least with the language he was using and stuff, for him to come after Roman. It was something we were expecting to happen before the injury.
Yeah.
So it does make sense to pick that up from there. It's going to be a phenomenal match. And I'm interested in seeing how the Bloodline screw Randy Orton. Because
that really is the big $1 million question, isn't it?
Yep.
Alrighty, well, we have come to our time for this week. We'll come at you next week with the results from NXT Deadline, but it's been great talking to you.
Bye, B.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/wrestling R&D-up, or our Twitter page, twitter.com/wrestling R&D-up, our YouTube page, youtube.com/wrestling R&D-up, and we will see you next week.